I know the governor has taken us to school. He has given us all the details. But I also believe that some of us have some questions in some areas that he probably touched or he did not touch, that you want clarification on it. So this is what we're going to do. MC, here's the other microphone. So my fellow MC will be moving around. This is what we're going to do. We're going to give you time to ask questions. You'll stand up, state your name, and ask your question. Please, because we are many, and because of time, we are only allowed to take 2 minutes maximum. If you can take 1 minute, that will be fine. So, with the interest of time, the floor is open. If you have any question, please raise your hand. Where is
Okay, if you have any questions, raise your hand. Okay.
Hello, Governor. Welcome to Minnesota, and congratulations on your recent win. My name is Cleophas Omondi, and I'm a resident of Minnesota. I do have 2 questions, and they are all related to investments in your county. The first one I have, and I wrote it down just so I can keep to the point that I'm trying to make. The question is about most of the people in the diaspora. You know, one of the accomplishments that they really want to have is owning something in Kenya. And one of the observations that I have is that the process of purchasing land in Kisumu has become very tricky. And I say tricky in 2 ways. One is that you find that most of the agents that are involved in selling land in Kisumu are either corrupt, and the process goes all the way to the land office. Would your office be able to look at the process of maybe requiring those land agents to have a license and also be bonded or have insurance? The second question is related to an investment that my wife and I have in Kisumu. We own a mill, and it's really doing well. And one of the issues that we are having is we have frequent electricity interruption. And you can imagine if you own a business and you have about 8 power outages in a day, that is really not good for investment in Kisumu. Would your office also look into how Kenya Power Lightning is operating in that area? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bwana Cleophas.
Let me think about 2 years.
Okay, the next one.
Thank you, Governor. My name is Jack Ayima. I have a question about traveling expenses. In the past 5 years, we've seen governors crisscrossing the world using taxpayers' money and totally nothing to show for when they get back home. Kenyans will be lucky if they see a wheelbarrow costing thousands of shillings. And this is not just at the county level, but at the national level as well. So I'm just wondering what you have in mind that we do differently from government foreigners that have been crisscrossing the world in the last 5 years, and totally nothing to show for. Because these are taxpayers' money. Mama Toti at the corner worked so hard to get to pay her taxes. So we think that these taxes probably should be used appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One more question. We've been reminded, let's try and keep the questions more on NASA issues. And, so let's get it going.
Governor, congratulations for your win. I'm a Kisumu resident, though I'm a Kisi, and I like what you just said about inclusiveness. When I looked at the Jack Rabomo government, it excluded our people in Kisumu. And I can tell you that about 30 to 40% of rental houses in Kisumu are owned by our people. My question is this: what will your government do to show that you're going to include us, so that, because some of us who are born and raised in Kisumu, we feel excluded in Kisi, so we feel like we are more included, we should be included in Kisumu. What is your government going to do? The other question I have is the issue of the nurses' strike. The nurses have been striking now for almost 5 months. And it has become an unsensible issue. Nobody talks about it completely. People are just campaigning. And the private hospitals are becoming extremely expensive. There is no regulation of even the pharmaceutical industry. What can you guys do as a governors to resolve this issue? Because now it seems Uhuru doesn't want to resolve this issue. Do you people know that people are becoming sick, honestly, every day, and they are turned away from the hospitals? We want you to assure us that you're willing to resolve the nurses' strike. What is your personal take on that?
I think already there have been 3 questions. We'll let the governor answer.
I hope we shall get NASA ones, eh? So the next 3 must be NASA ones. Have we agreed?
Yeah, yeah, we
Okay,
want
so
a national question, not a Kisumu question.
yeah, but let me.
Thank you very much. My question is regard to answer. My name is Raymond Baraza. I'm a resident of Minnesota, and I also have 1 foot in Kenya. I came here from Kenya, I think, about a week ago. My question is, in the event that Parliament passes that bill and is enacted into law, and then Uhuru accents to it, and then IBC holds the elections on 26th, which other card does NASA as a party has that will unleash against Jubilee? The other issue I have is not a question, actually, it's a comment, which I would like Your Excellency, if you wish, you can pass it to Raila. You know, Kenya, honestly, we can't forget the tribal factor in Kenya. It's there. I mean, we have tribes, we have different tribes. And like the other day when I was in Kenya, when I went to vote, there is an issue where I think Raila talked about Matiani. I come from Kisii, and no, due to ignorance, sometimes people take this at home. People take advantage of that and say, no, you see now it's fighting our people. So my advice to him through you, Your Excellency, is to go and tell him that whenever is displeased with individuals, you know, from particular communities, he should not attack them directly. He should have his own foot soldiers who can go ahead and, like now Chiloba wants to go, or whoever that professor from Garissa, I think Raila should not very much get involved in that. He should have It should be there, of course, but you should have some people at the back who are really pushing that agenda. That's all that I had. Thank you very much.
Okay, let me answer. I think, Baraza, you are right. I mean, these are questions of political tactics. Yeah? Okay. It's okay. Yeah, okay. These are issues of political tactics, which are important. I mean, yes, we cannot run too far beyond the level of consciousness of our people. We should take that into account. But at the same time, it's also different to, as leaders, to lead, to help shape the minds of the people. Let me give you an example. Just after the recent election, when Chebukati went ahead and gave the certificate to Uhuru, and there was a chorus that said, well, the election is by the donors, but even from among NASA supporters, well, you know, yeah, there might be something here and there, but let's move on, let's forget. Even if we go to court, nothing will happen. If we try mass action, these people will still continue. They will form government, will be left behind. Some people that even started saying, oh, let's see how we can get a piece of the action. You know what I mean? I'm sure you know this. We look at it and say, no. Just wait a minute. This thing was wrong. I mean, we can gather evidence and show that it was rigged and stolen. And even if the Supreme Court doesn't rule in our favor, but let the evidence be in the public domain. And it was a risk worth taking. And it paid off. And it has opened a chapter in our history which could have been opened much later, but has now been accelerated, so that we have to deal with these issues now rather than later. And sometimes if you are, Baraza, if you are if you treat the public too much with kid gloves, they can delay you. They can put brakes on you. You never move. You're too cautious. And we know certain politicians in Kenya who are too cautious, who never get anywhere. So it is better to take clear stands with the risks that involves. And then society can move in a certain direction. Let me give you an example. This is a personal example. In 1988, after I'd come back from about a 6-year exile to Kenya, I was working at the African Academy of Sciences. And as soon as I got back, we started again plotting. And I think the system got to know. And this is when they were planning for the Mlolongo election. So Moi had decided then that he was going to get some young, bright, educated men to stand in the Luo constituencies to replace the old guard. He was tired of them. So we were being approached. That's the election that Dalmas Otieno went in. Yeah. We were being approached. I was approached. I will not tell you by who. And he sat me down and said, we want you to stand in Kisumu Rural, you know, the president, you know, means well, blah, blah, blah. And there was a lot of pressure. So finally, I was forced to make it public because I didn't want, if I refused, and then I disappeared again, I didn't want people not to. So I had to issue a press statement, which in those days was very risky. And I said, I want to make it very clear that I will never stand for election so long as there's a one-party system in Kenya. That itself was treasonable. So my father had to fly to Nairobi, have a family meeting, and say, this is terrible, you just come back from exile, you can't do a thing like this, you are now putting the family in jeopardy, blah, blah, blah. The only person who stood by me was my late uncle and my late brother. I said, no. I think Professor is right. He's now annulled the decision he takes. Supposing I had given him what seems to be as public pressure, because it was being expressed as if the Luos now needed new leadership, fresh leadership, that can help Moi rule better. I was not interested in making Moi rule better. I was getting rid of him. So, and sometimes, brother, these things look really reasonable, but you have to think twice. You have to think. No, that doesn't mean that you are always adventurous. No, and that you don't take into account people's sentiments. Like the one you say about Matiang'i. You know, that's a constituency you don't want to mess around about. You want to make sure that every individual vote counts. So you have to tread a very careful path in that regard. Now, in the event that Parliament passes the law and Uhuru assents to the law, and then Uhuru goes ahead and stands for the election, and as it were elected, and as we also all on our word and said, without changing the IBC and with the laws are changed by Parliament, we shall not take part in the election. What happens? Do we have plan B? I think we have plan A, we have plan A and plan A. And plan A is that without changes in the IBC, in line with what the Supreme Court ruled, because it is there, there's no need taking part in the elections. The Supreme Court said the Constitution was one of the laws and itemized. We have also listed to the IBC our minimum irreducible demands, which actually Chebukati also agreed to some. And we have met the donors too. They also appreciate that our stand is very, very proper, because reforms are necessary if the elections are going to be different. There's an English word saying which says you can't do the same thing the same way and expect different results. So we don't want to do the same thing the same way and expect a different result. They will still rig it. So rather than go there and be slaughtered, we say no, and then face the consequences. The struggle will be taken to a different level. So be prepared in case. It is rather difficult, but we have to face it. For changes to come into society, sometimes have to be made. An example I've always been given: for a seed to germinate into a plant, it must first disintegrate. So I believe that for Kenya to come out of this morass, things will have to be shaken. Not through violence, but through change. How it is going to happen, we are there. Tuko hapa. That is called mabadiliko, ama sivyo? Tuko nasa, you hear the song. Now, for these nurses, when I was Minister for Medical Services, we used to resolve these strikes in 2 weeks. Even when the teachers and nurses struck together, Mutula Kilonzo and myself, we got together, went to the President's office and told the President's office, these two strikes must be solved together. And we are going to work together as ministers. Let us find a common solution. If the teachers want more money, the nurses want more money, get some money from NSIS, put it here. And we resolve those things. Sometimes it involves negotiations up to 2 in the morning. You must sit there painfully with these fellows and talk to them until you get somewhere. So I do believe that, personally, although I have not been able to have a discussion with my fellow governors because the Council of Governors has not met ever since we were elected. We were supposed to have an orientation this week, but it was again postponed. So I have not had the opportunity to engage my fellow governors this. Once I engage them, I'm even ready to take the chair of health to help the council of governors resolve this matter. Because I believe myself the issue is resolvable. Because health is under county hands. I must you. It's a county function. So governors must find a solution. Now, part of it is for Afya House to surrender some of the functions they are still performing and the money that's squandering there in billions. That money must go to the county to pay nurses. It should not be in Afya House. That's a battle we must fight and win with the national government. That's part of my solution. So, unfortunately, and I've seen it in my own county, people are dying because of the strike. Very unfortunate. And solution must be found. Let's wait until the Council of Governors begin functioning. But please do realize that part of the Jubilee strategy is to stifle revolution. For example, ever since the new governors came into government, not a single cent has come from the treasury to the counties. Not a single cent. We are either functioning overdraft from banks or from revenue collected locally from the counties. So that threat to the county governance by the Jubilee government, to the evolution by the Jubilee government, we must take it very seriously. Now let me answer very quickly these Kisumu issues, because I want us to talk more about NASA. Yes, Cleopas, land is a problem. I am a victim in Kisumu. One, because we don't have a land registry, and we have not digitalized land registry in Kisumu. So people have 3, 4 title deeds at the same time, which doesn't help in investment. At the moment, I have a task force looking into land ownership in Kisumu, taking over from a committee that was established by the previous Nguma government, which submitted this report, which we have. Fortunately, the old municipal council of Kisumu have a vault in the municipal hall. In that vault, there are the old titles as were recorded by the municipal council then, which are pretty accurate. If we can begin reconstructing our registry from that vault, we shall find out the illegal land transactions that have taken place since then. We are also getting the help of the National Land Commission. And by the way, just yesterday, we repossessed one piece of land that had been grabbed from Sunset Hotel. And we bulldozed the wall down and gave that land back to Sunset Hotel. Just as one first move to show the people of Kisumu that we are very serious about resolving this problem. So watch this space, we are working on it. And I'm very determined, because if we don't resolve the land issue in Kisumu, investments like yours will not come, and we want those investments. We know people who have started building some enterprises. They have spent 20 million shillings. People have taken them to court. The land and environment court in Kisumu is very inefficient. After about 2 or 3 years, these people have given up, losing 20 million shillings. I don't want that to continue anymore. The other thing you say about your mill doing well, there's frequent interruption of electricity. This is a phenomenon. I called a meeting with the Kenya Power and Lighting Company, headed by Ms. Obiero in Kisumu, to discuss this particular matter with my officers. Obiero himself does not have an answer at the moment. But the answer really lies in more local generation of electricity into the national grid, so that the KPLC cannot deny us the power we generate. That's a solution that we have to look into. And it's not difficult, because you have a lot of hydroelectric power in the county, or possibilities for hydroelectric power, using the rivers. That's a possibility we'll have to look into. But at the moment, We are generally in that county starved of electrical supply from KPLC because of issues germane to KPLC itself, which we cannot have any control over. So I hope your mill will be doing better if we improve. Now, coming to investment, we are establishing two things in Kisumu. The Kisumu Investment Promotion Center, to which those who are seeking investment will get information, quick information, and quickest way of solving problems. It is not yet established, but establishing it. And the Kisumu Economic and Social Council, which will be an arena for interaction with business, both local and foreign, in Kisumu, to help us solve problems together. Now, traveling expenses by governors. Of course, Jack, I hope I'm not going to complicate the problem by coming to Minnesota too frequently, but but surely it depends on why one is traveling and whether one travels productively or not. Of course, apart from talking to you, I've come here to negotiate a very important project for the Kisumu County, that is get fire engines for disaster management in my county. And so it will not be pleasurable fire travels on county money. That's just unethical. Yeah, okay, I think I've finished. Let's get NASA questions now. Yeah, 3 more, sure.
Okay, next.
Professor, I think there's a question. As a media person, I don't want anybody to go home and say, oh, you didn't answer my question.
Yeah.
There's a question a gentleman asked about the Kisi community.
Ah, good, please. Very important. Now, before the election, I had 2 meetings with the Kisi community at Royal Hotel Dubai on Nairobi Road. And we agreed one thing, because I was meeting one community to the other, that the Kisis, as part of Wakaji wa Kisumu, will be integrated in my government. And we have started the process already. Among the task forces that I've set up, there are participants from the Kisi community. But I also intend to appoint them either chief officers or committee executive members. And I've got some people in mind already. That's one. The other one is, you know, one aspect of devolution, which has not been implemented by many counties, the idea of the village council. Village council, if you look at the County Government Act, is very, very important to devolution. And since the Kisis in Kisumu at least occupy substantial community, they will have their own village council. In those areas, in a place like Nyamasaria. I think you have a chief or an assistant chief or something like that. A chief. Yes. So you're more than qualified for a village council in that area. But that is not all. I mean, we want all the communities to be seen in the inspectorate, in the city management system, and so on. So this is a work in progress. We haven't really started the process of appointment yet. The position was just advertised. We are getting a human resources firm to shortlist for us professionally. So it's not just that you are a Kisi or a lawyer or a Luo. You must also be qualified and competent and cleared. And cleared in terms of integrity. So those are those, but I'm sure that there are so many Kisis who are qualified in that regard. So they will be definitely featuring prominently in our government. So don't be worried. Okay, any other question?
Okay, so let's resume the questions. We're going to go one question each right now.
NASA, and we want also ladies actually to have questions. Yeah. Let's hear from ladies also.
Yeah, this is a NASA question. My name is Rick Koyaro. My name is a guest from Minnesota, but actually from Siaya County. My question is about voter turnout. When you eventually we go to the polls. What's NASA doing to ensure voter turnout, maximum voter turnout, especially in NASA strongholds, and also the area of voter education, to just make sure that we have maximum voter turnout? Are we applying technology like we saw our brother Obama do here in the US, where there was a lot of grassroots technology to ensure voter turnout?
Thank you very much, Mr. Oyaro. We were trying to give a lady a chance.
There, back there.
Thank you for the opportunity. Karibu sana, Your Excellency. I'm just going to make one comment and ask two questions. The first comment that I'm going to make is, I just hope that in this day and age, that we as Kenyans here in the diaspora would have been able to vote from here. Because we do have the vision too. We do have the vision, and we know what is needed in Kenya. We've been out here, we've seen it. I just hope that at some point, which technically that's what we're working on, when Raila wins, that this is something that's going to be on the table, and we can know, at least we can be able to voice our intent by using our votes. Now, question number one that I'm going to ask. Now, being here, we all want to help. Given the fact that you are on the ground, what do you see is needed? And what do you need from us? Because we can give you money, we can contribute, we can do whatever we can, but we cannot be there personally. What are some of the things that you really need from the people in the diaspora? The second question, Nyamira County. It was, a question has just been asked about that, but it's not really pertinent to that. And Nyamira County had some discrepancies that really did happen, where there were 3 polling stations that did not exist, that were included in the votes that were counted. What is NASA doing to be able to at least curb these discrepancies? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to have one more question.
Thank you, Your Excellency. My name is Daniel. I come from Kisii, and I have a question. We have seen a lot of videos on YouTube about the attack, the brutal attack of our students at the University of Nairobi. And some of us who are friends from other countries, they can't believe what they see. Now the question is, the government, the same government that sent those thugs, I would call them thugs, to go and attack those young girls and boys, cannot investigate itself. So as a NASA coalition, and I'm sure that those students, they were demonstrating. They were not demonstrating to support the government. They were demonstrating against the government. So their attacks is an indication that we are a country that's being divided. So my question is, what can NASA do? Because if those students were demonstrating, it's because they were supporting NASA, the opposition. So as NASA, as you go back, what is NASA doing? The government is not going to investigate itself. How can we, in this country, if that something like that happened, there will be an investigation, and whoever did will be held accountable. How can we have those police that came and attacked the students? And we hear some of them are dead, some of them are in hospital, some are not going to make it. So how can NASA launch an investigation, at least somebody to be held accountable?
On the same issue hiyo ya watoto, ninaweza kubaliwa niseme kitu?
Tutaongea.
Waligonga my sister's child.
Thank you, Daktari. Mine is a comment, it's not a question. It has been known that President have been selected.
Say your name, please.
Michael Obala. It has been known that President would like to choose his predecessor for cover-up. I'm so sure Raila will take the day. I'm praying for him. Now, hawa watu wanaweza rudisha mali yetu ile waliiba bwana.
Good evening, all of you. Professor, I salute you. Wananasa tuko hapa. Now, I'm going to make it a very simple question. Obviously, sorry, my name is Stephen Msianbo. I'm from KC. The question to you is simple. Now, let's assume, and I think it will probably be trying to happen again, that these people will try to rig the election, which they did, second round. You say we will do or have some action. Now, it's only fair that we define the consequences, because this way they understand if they read, this is what they get. Professor saying we'll do something is not good enough. For me, I would like to hear if Ogonyo must die on the line, then I know if I'm going to Kenya, I know I'm going to carry out some action that they have been told before. Saying we'll do something is not good enough. Is it wrong? We should say, this way they know if they're going to read or do something that's not acceptable, which is fair, with abundant evidence that we want, then we know what to do. Saying we shall do something is not good. What is something? Answer me.
Thank you very much. There's one more from Mama Beatrice.
I am calling upon Mrs. President Uhuru. Her name is Margaret. How would she feel if her son and her daughter was in the university and they were beaten the way our children were beaten, our grandchildren? How would she, and I want it to be recorded, how would Uhuru feel as a president when his son and his daughter, if they were beaten the way those kids were beaten? Can it be on record, and can Mrs. Uhuru and Uhuru, the president, answer me that question? Thank you.
I think that point is very well taken. Okay. Hata mimi ningependa kuweka swali hilo kwa Uhuru na mamake. Sasa voter turnout, voter education, and applying technology. I'll tell you what we are doing very practically. In the Lake region, we got together all the 11 governors within the region. We met in Kisumu, and we agreed that in each county, voters will be mobilized from the polling station level, because that is where votes are cast. That if I take Kisumu County, for example, I met all the leaders, ward reps, MPs, chairmen of ODM and NASA, from the ward up to the constituency level to the county level. And the instruction was the following. At the ward level, let the MCA and the ward party chairman bring together all the polling station leaders. In the ODM, in every polling station, we have 60 officials. Do you know that? Those 60 officials, they have a chairperson. Get those 60 officials from every polling station. And in each polling station, give the chairperson a list of registered persons in that polling station. Then they go back to the polling station. And these 60 people, or even if they're less, assign themselves responsibility of mobilizing 10, 5, or 20 people, as the list may be divided among them. Are we following each other? Yes. So the polling station committee is there responsible for ensuring that the registered persons have identity cards or if they don't, why? Or whether those IDs can be recovered before the polling day. And those which are not there, forget them because they are not useful to us. But those with IDs will be divided among these officials, and each official assigned 5 or 6 people. Atahakikisha ya kwamba hawa jamaa watapiga kura wakati wa kupiga kura. Ama sivyo? They will make sure that those people go to the polling station. So they will go to the polling station and wait as people are coming. And as they come to vote, they take their members. If by 3 o'clock some people have not turned up, they go look for them and bring them. Isitoshe, hawa jamaa ambao wamevaa masuti na tai kutoka town, tunawaomba wa adopt a polling station. Wewe kwenda nyumbani, adopt a polling station. If you have your car, your money and so on, work with those people. So that if there is somebody sick in hospital who needs to be lifted, take your car, bring him to the polling station. So we got these professionals and jamaa ambao wanavaa tai kutoka town to be responsible, pick up a polling station for which they are responsible. Ama sivyo? So there's no need, there's no standing aloof. We can go on as politicians addressing rallies, lakini jukumu la kuhakikisha ya kwamba jamaa watapiga kura is at the polling station, na kula mtu ana jukumu lake, kama sivyo? Kuchukua watu wapeleke katika pahali pa kupiga kura wakati wa kupiga kura. So that's what is going on at the moment, practically, to mobilize people to vote. It's no longer a theoretical issue, because we have only one election. It's an issue of saying this man is in my polling station, I have in my list, that day I will jitolea muhanga, mchukua, aende apige kura. Ama sivyo? So that exercise is going on at the moment. I don't think there's any other better exercise or way to do it than that. Coming to technology, the agents at polling stations will all be supplied, or will all have smartphones. It is easy to have smartphones for about 4,000 or something polling stations, isn't it? That's where you people come in. Can you support us with money to buy these smartphones? That's all. If you cannot give us anything else, at least give us money to buy the smartphone. That will be a big, big contribution. And I'm sure if you send this money to our party leader, the candidate, he will easily give it to the necessary committee buying these smartphones. And the smartphones will be ready to give them to these people so that they can relay the information to our tallying center in real time. Now, another thing I'd like to plead with you. Please don't call me Your Excellency. I don't just hate it, but I don't think it is proper. Governor is enough. You know, if you read the history of how Americans arrived at the idea of calling their president Mr. President and governor Mr. Governor, it's a very controversial argument actually here. Some people wanted to call the president His Royal Majesty or His Excellent President and so on. In the end, they say, why don't you call the bastard Mr. President? Forget about it. And that's what they said, which is much simpler, isn't it? Lakini mambo ya excellency, nini, it's not necessary. And even mambo ya first lady, I mean, all ladies are first. Why one woman becomes Honorable is okay. Now, the polling station in Nyamira that were fake, it was not only in Nyamira, by the way, in northern counties, Wajir, Garissa, it was worse. In certain cases, I think it was Garissa, Wajir, about 13 fake polling stations. There were many fake polling stations from which votes were gathered and counted. So we really must take care of this. How are we going to deal with it? There are two things that we are demanding in our minimum, irreducible minimum. One, that there must be an all-parties committee, technical committee, working with the IEBC And that committee must first and foremost agree on the register of voters. Sacrosanct